time for you to smile again. Come on, Sean. I believe the family will get better. I believe God will provide. I believe the promise that He made. Oh, I believe. Oh, it's already done. The blessing is yours. God's already pre-approved you for it. Come on, Zacardi. I believe that my God is a healer. Yes, He is. And I believe that I will survive. Oh, I believe that God is able. Oh, I believe. I know it is already done. The word tells us that if any two of us shall agree on anything on earth, that God will do it for us in heaven. And I know sometimes life has a way of knocking you down to the point where you can't even pray for yourself. But today I want to agree with you that it's getting ready to get better. And right now we are giving your problems an expiration date. And we're saying it's over. That you've been crying long enough. That you've been worried long enough. That you've been struggling long enough. And I believe that God's going to do it for you. I believe God's going to do it. Yes, He will. I believe it's going to get better for you. I believe God's going to do it. He's going to do it. Yes, He will. I know He will. I believe fire, take it up. I believe God's gonna fix it. Yes, He will. I believe God's gonna get better. Good will. Oh, I believe. If nobody wants to help you, God will fix it. God will fix it. Yes, He will. If you just believe. Oh, it's got to get better. Talk to him, Sean. I know you've been crying at night, but I came by to let you know that it's gonna get better. To the single parents, go in the room and grab your children, put your arms around them and let them know it's gonna get better. If you trust in Him, hang on in there. God told me to tell you it's gonna get better. God's gonna do it. You can't handle it. You gotta give it to Jesus. Oh, won't He work it out? If you believe it, say that. I believe. Your money's gonna get better. Things are gonna work out for you good. Tell somebody. Oh, you gotta believe. That cancer will bow down. Your child will get saved. Encourage somebody now. Yes, I do believe. Yes, I do believe. You need to call somebody right now and tell them God's gonna do it. Oh, He do it for a night. Oh, Joe. If you don't remember anything else, I believe. Remember this. Your storm is over. I believe. Your rain is gone away. Clouds have moved. I believe you'll make it through it. Oh, I believe it's already done. I'm excited about your future.
51 minutes past the hour here on 91.9 FM WLJS Jacksonville. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to our broadcast tonight. A political compromise, Democrats versus Republicans. Can we have political compromise in the United States of America, in American politics? Can Democrats and can Republicans come together and stop all the bickering and stop all the fussing and stop all the fighting and stop all the arguing? I'm sitting here with my panel of six. We have three Democrats and three Republicans. We've been sitting here having some very interesting conversation about political compromise. And before we left to go to the commercial break, I wanted to get the perspectives of stereotypes in the political parties. Stereotypes within the political parties, and how it makes each party appear to the mainstream media, how it makes each person who is involved in that political party appear to people on the other political party. Let me ask our Democrats over here, what are some of the stereotypes that you believe as Democrats are faced upon in the land of blue?
Well, it was mentioned earlier, I think, that a lot of people, especially on the other side, view Democrats as any Democrat as socialist, working towards communism.
Where everybody is the same.
Yeah, where everyone's the same, and then it goes even further into let's take money from the rich and give it all to the poor, and then having a level playing field. And I think that's been misconstrued over time. What most Democrats mean by let's make the playing field more level is the foundation. Let's give Americans, at least a more equalized chance, to make it in America. Let's not just give it away. Let's not just, deprive people from their successes to make people who have no will to work, give them a better chance to succeed. If you have a will to work in America, Democrats, I believe, really want to help you get started on that will to work.
Okay. Mr. Kenny Smith, what are some of the stereotypes you think are based upon the Democratic Party?
Pretty much all Democrats are going to hell, and all Republicans are going to heaven because they're right and we're wrong. No, seriously, just that we have our own agenda, and we're trying to push it on everyone, but yet they, Republicans, they have their agenda, and they're right and we're wrong, and we're right and they're wrong. I just come back to am I a typical anything? Why do I have to conform to? It's when you ask the question, are you going to totally 100% agree always? No. I being raised in a Republican family, there's a lot of things that I grew up and I hear this, it's pushed into my mind. There are some, Republican things that I agree with. Yes, that's true. Do I fall into a typical stereotype? I have a blue tie on right now. That's pretty stereotypical. But if you saw me out on the street, I was in the military. I attend college. Southern. I'm white. I'm unmarried at 31. Is that stereotype for anything? Yeah, well, maybe. But you can't always stereotype someone. I think that's just that when it comes to stereotyping someone and putting someone into a little box, that's where you kind of start losing your American. I want you to see red, white, and blue when you look at me. I don't want you to see just blue. That's a stereotype that I want to fall into is somebody who fights for the rights. But again, that's why I chose to be a Democrat, because what they line up with is more what my heart sees and what my heart lines up with, and what I'd like to see. Even education in Alabama. Democrats, we're pushing for lottery. Right, all of our borders have lottery. The Republicans, well, let's pray it away and let's do this. But on Saturday, I'm just being real here, folks. They'll go and buy scratch-off tickets, but then they want to gripe when their child doesn't have enough money for education. And that money is going towards other states, that has lottery. But let's pray about it on Sunday, and let's be this. Now, Is that a stereotype? We could talk about this for the rest of your show. About what's a typical stereotype for anyone.
Let me. I'm sorry. I have to get the opinions of the Republicans over here. This stereotype, Republicans. Oh, let's just pray it away. Let's just go to church and just pray it away. Is this a true stereotype? Do you, as Republicans, believe that is a stereotype of the Republican Party?
110%, yes. My parents especially, they pray about everything. Half of it doesn't happen. It's funny. But another stereotype that usually happens that I noticed was last year was my first time I was able to vote. So I went to the polls, and I was about to walk in to vote at the courthouse, and I was asked by a black lady up front going, who you vote for? Well, I didn't say a mom.
They're not supposed to ask you that.
Yeah, it wasn't it wasn't.
Oh, okay.
It was just a random person that had voted and was leaving, that kind of stuff. Just kind of.
So this wasn't an election. It just wasn't someone working at that location.
No, it wasn't made. No,
Okay, because that is not
legal. No,
that
it's
is
just
very.
There's a few people outside that was leaving for voting in a group.
It's very so much not okay.
Yes,
but go ahead.
But I wasn't mind telling them anyways, and I didn't say Obama. I said McCain, and I was immediately became a racist. They didn't even know me. So, especially racism is definitely a big stereotype for Republicans.
Yeah. Why do you think that is the case? Especially considering the fact that probably one of the greatest Republican presidents of all, Abraham Lincoln, who signed the Emancipation Proclamation, that freed African slaves in the United States. With someone with such a prestige, why do you think that the Republican Party is perceived as racist? Republicans.
I think this last election with John McCain and President Obama, I think it really became more of a race issue than it did a political issue, and on both sides it did, and so I think that that people they were like, oh well, you're not voting for Barack Obama because you're white and you're racist and you don't want to have an African American president, which really that's not it at all. I mean, that granted, you probably did have some people that did that, but as a whole, I don't feel like that was the issue, and I feel like it's still kind of an issue. That's still kind of a stereotype that if you're a Republican, you're just a racist, and you don't you have a closed mind. You're very closed-minded. You're not open to other people's opinions, which is not necessarily true for the whole Republican Party.
I want to ask Anya. Anya, you're 29. You've been around longer than some of us have. You've been around longer than some of us have. Do you think that was that the case before President Obama ran for office in 2008? Because as he mentioned, he said he thinks that it probably went back to 2008 when John McCain was running against President Obama, that Republicans were perceived as racist simply because they didn't like President Obama. Before 2008, before John McCain and President Obama ran together or ran against one another, do you think that was still a stereotype in the Republican Party?
I think it has always been there, but it didn't come to a head until the last election because obviously it was the first black president, running, and we all, everybody had to be up in arms, I guess, so to speak, that there was a black man. I disagree with President Obama on quite a few things, and I've been called a racist, and I have shot them down every single time because I can name his policies. I don't talk about his color. I don't agree with shoving policies down the throats of American. He's, as a president of the United States, he needs to seek, the interests of both sides of the fence. So whenever the Democrats controlled Congress and he controlled the White House, they sure did shove Obamacare down everybody's throat. And the majority of people didn't want it. And the last time I checked, this is an elected government where we vote on legislation and go to pass it. And then for the Speaker of the House, Pelosi, to say that she didn't read it and she just signed it, it just makes her look like an embarrassment.
Well, let me ask Jason A. Sumner.
And thus the danger of a one-party system. That comes full circle, and it can be bad on either side, left or right.
Absolutely.
I want to leave the topic of Obamacare because we're avoiding discussing issues.
Absolutely.
Rather than we're focused on discussing political compromise, and on the question of the stereotype that Republicans are racist. I've faced this, and I've never believed that personally. But I think that what that comes from is not from elected officials, like you mentioned, Abraham Lincoln. He signed the Emancipation Proclamation. it's not specifically from elected officials. It's a lot of from individuals who don't really educate themselves on the issues, who are very apolitical, but yet they go around and they're the ones that are out in public saying racial slurs, and then a lot of people associate them that way. And it also goes back